All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar, and as always, we talk about leadership uh, in the world of boutique retail, right? So we're talking wireless retail, AV sales, appliance sales, the fun stuff, right? Uh, and one of the things I want to talk today about is your team not listening. And you guys probably have an idea of, why your team doesn't listen, the things preventing them from executing on what you're delivering, what you're saying, what you're asking about. Okay. But here's the thing, your sales team doesn't listen, and there's a way to fix it. And it's about a leadership skill that nobody taught you that's going to be changing everything. So pay close attention to this. And before we go further, if you have, any questions, if you have an idea of what it is, leave it in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. And we'll see if you're right. Okay. Now, if your team tunes you out, it's not a people problem. Okay. It's not your team. It's your problem. There's a reason why it's your delivery. That's a problem. And guess what? We've all been there. You're going to be you're explaining things to your team, and you think you're doing it clearly. You may be even repeating yourself multiple times on the talking point, and it just somehow your team is not executing. They're not moving forward. They're not delivering on what you're talking about. Okay. And it's not because they're lazy or it's not because they're unmotivated. It's because you're missing one leadership skill that separates managers from true coaches. You guys want to take a guess what that is? Communicating in a way that your team can absorb and apply the information that you're sharing. That's what's going to separate you from all the other managers that are having issues with their teams executing. Now, what you don't realize is that most leaders talk too much, but they say too little. Let that sink in. You guys know what I'm talking about because if you've had managers in the past that do this exact same thing, they just talk, 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 but they don't say anything. They don't say anything of value. They say very little that actually gets retained, that actually stays. Now, the reason is because you're over delivering too much information. You're not over delivering on promises. No, you're under delivering on promises and you're just talking way too much for them to absorb anything. You're just throwing a bunch of stuff out there for them. And great leaders, they know how to coach in bite-sized, actionable pieces. You're not throwing a bunch of information out there at once, hoping that they're going to, execute and they're going to get everything. No, they know, you know what? This is the most important thing for us to execute on. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to keep it short, simple, and to the point, and let's get to it. That's what you got to do. As a leader, you have to break things down. You got to chunk things down so that they can be retained and be taken action on, right? You want them to be actionable in pieces of information that you're passing on. Uh, you guys already know what I'm going to say. If you don't, check the link in the bio, check the description, depending on where you're watching this. Grab that 15-minute framework. It's a great way to learn how to be able to chunk pieces of information during coaching sessions. Um, and it's a great way to get you started faster instead of having to wait longer periods and being that person, being that coach, being that manager that talks way too much but doesn't say anything or says way too little for your team. Now, your message isn't hitting because you're not listening to them as well. Communication's a two-way street. And when your team feels that they're not being heard, that the communication's only coming from you, they're going to tune you out because they understand it doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter the input or what information or what expertise they have. You're just not going to listen. So why are they going to speak up? And it could be that what they have to say is very simple and will change dramatically the course of the actions taken. It could be a small pivot that takes the action from being maybe a 5% lift to being a 20, 30, 40% lift in what's occurring, in the results that you're getting back. So as a leader, it's very important that we also listen to our team. And if you don't listen, you're not having communication. You're just yapping away. And to do this, you can do it in group settings, you can do it in individual settings. You want to use guided coaching instead of lectures, right? Ask for their feedback. Ask what opportunities did you see? What did what did you did wrong? Ask them for them to be the ones to give the answer. I get it. As leaders, we have a plethora of experience and we could tell them what to do because we know from experience that's likely the case. But what are they going to learn? How are they going to pick it up and figure it out themselves the next time around without you being there to tell them what to do? That's the important thing about communication and coaching, training and developing. You want to train them, you want to mentor them, you want them to realize what's going on so that they can pick it up, they can see what's occurring in real time themselves and be able to pivot and make that change. That's the importance of training and developing your team so that they can make those changes in real time. They can become great at their craft. It shouldn't be that the only time they become better is when you are coaching them. Us coaching them is the starting line, and they get better as they continue to grow on their own. As they go on that journey, they themselves are getting better. You just help point them in the right direction, and now they can pivot and actually make the changes, make the difference themselves. That's a big difference between you telling them what they need to do every single step of the way and you going on vacation and not having to come back to a shitstorm. That makes big differences for you as a leader. It makes big differences for your teams. And when there's more uncertainty in the world around us, having that themselves makes a difference in what they're capable of doing and in what they can achieve themselves. That makes a difference. The other thing that a lot of leaders are guilty, a lot of managers, okay? Because there's a big distinction between a manager and a leader. And typically, managers do this and leaders don't, okay? Managers say things once and expect things to be retained. They think that, okay, I'm just going to say it once and that's it. You don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about repeating myself. No, a great coach, a great leader knows that repetition and reinforcement create retention. Without repetition and without reinforcement, there is no retention. That is why having things done in bite-sized, actionable chunks makes a difference as opposed to just spitting out and throwing up a bunch of data, a bunch of information at them all at once. This is why I am not a fan of doing 8-hour training courses in one get go, right? In one sitting. It's not actionable. It's not repeatable. It's a waste of everybody's time. The only person who's actually getting something out of it is the instructor that's leading the damn fucking course. That's the difference. Okay. As leaders, we need to know that our teams need small, actionable chunks. They need information to be repeated. That's perfectly normal. Repetition is king. You guys heard the adage, right? If you want to remember, if you have trouble remembering people's names, repeat the name 3 times. It makes a difference. There's something about the number three, the action of doing something 3 times that really makes it stick. Okay. It works. And it's just something that we need to be able to do more often as leaders and enable our teams to understand, you know what? I'm repeating this and don't do it in a way that makes them feel stupid. That's the last thing you need to do. Be earnest. You got to repeat the stuff over and over again. It's like when you're practicing something, you don't practice it once and then you're a master at it. No. Michael Phelps didn't just go to the pool one day and be, okay, I'm going to be the next champion Olympian that's going to win a bunch of gold medals by just going to the pool and training once. It was repetition, working on the small things, on the basics, on the principles, over and over and over and over again. And that's what we got to do. We got to repeat. We got to reinforce. And that's how things are retained and done without it needing to be reminded in the future. But as a coach, you have to facilitate that because there are going to be times when they don't want to. Just like you as a leader, you're going to have times where you don't want to lead, you don't want to adult. It happens, it's natural. We're humans, we fatigue. Same thing with your people. But when you have somebody there that's a not just a coach, but also a cheerleader to help push you forward, keeping you true to what you committed to doing, that's a difference. That is what helps your teams become better. That is what got you to become better. Listen, we don't all, nobody pulls themselves up from the fucking bootstraps. That is bullshit. Who gave you the boots in the first place? Somebody else did. Who taught you how to pull up your bootstraps? Somebody else did. Be real about what is going on. You have to help your teams become better. If you're under the mindset that they got to figure it out on their own, you're not a leader. You got to get booted out of that. If you're a leader, a regional, a VP, and you have people like that on your team, it's up to you to fix that attitude and fix those people because they are the reason, they are the cause why you have so much churn in your organization or within that market. It is not because you can't find great people. It's not because it's very hard to find candidates. All that is bullshit excuses. It's because from the top down, you have the wrong people in place. So spend some time training and developing your leaders so that the field isn't sacrificing talent. And that's what it comes down to. You got to step up as leaders. You got to hold yourself accountable. You got to coach your teams to performance. And guys, repeat it with me. Coaching is not write ups. Write ups are not coaching sessions. Those are two big different things. And I don't know where in the world people got the idea that I'm going to do a coaching session and also put it as a write up was a great thing to do because it's idiotic, moronic, and the stupidest thing to ever hit the workplace. Okay. It really is. Train, develop your people. Repetition and reinforcement creates retention. If you're just saying things once and not repeating things, shit's not getting done. It's the same thing with anything else that we do. When you train, okay, it doesn't matter if you're going to the gym to work out, to lose weight, to gain muscle, to, weight lift, it doesn't matter. Whether you're training for a marathon or your triathlon, it doesn't matter. You don't do it once and be like, boom, I got this, I'm good. No, you train, you train, you train. You got a plateau, a ceiling. And if you just train enough and when you train with the right people, you can blow past that ceiling and create a new plateau for you to have your base at, where now you can move up depending on what your goals are. It is the same thing with our people. That is why they are not being lazy. It is your communication skills that need to be upgraded. And the good, beautiful thing about being people, about being leaders, is we can understand when when we're wrong. When you know what, this isn't working, we need to change. Being a leader, one of the biggest things that you can do is understand when you're fucking up. There's nothing wrong with that. We are not, the people that know the answers to everything. And that's perfectly normal. That's perfectly okay. We're human. We rely on our teams to give us really good feedback about what's going on in the field, about what's working, what's not, so that we can pivot and make adjustments. As a leader, you need to understand when things aren't working and when you got to pivot and you got to take ownership of it. So if you feel that your teams just aren't listening, that they're not executing on the information that you're giving them, it's not your teams, it's your communication skills. So take that to heart. Remember, guys, repetition, reinforcement, create retention. And when information is retained, That's when it can be actioned on. That is when your teams can actually build those habits and do great, not just by you, but more importantly, by them. Because we're here to give our people something that they haven't had before, which is a guide, a mentor, somebody who actually believes that they can accomplish greatness. That's you. That is you for your team. Okay. So when you reinforce more with your team, you're going to win more and consistently, period. So, guys, don't blame your team for not listening. It's not them. Okay. If you're not coaching in a way that lands, it's not them. It's your communication style. But the beautiful thing is that can be upgraded, that can be changed. You don't have to continue suffering. Now, if you're ready to fix that today, take a look at the link in the bio. Take a look at the description, depending on where you're watching this at. Grab that 15-minute framework, and you're going to start to see very beautiful changes in your near future as a leader. Guys, I want to say thanks again for stepping in, spending time with us here at Sales Manager Academy. I'm Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.